It's been a while, been a couple weeks. How are you? I hope you're doing well. My name is Shannon if you're new here. And this is my channel, Whiskey and Wool, and my series, Knitter's Life series, season 2, episode 6, I think. I think it's 6. So yeah, how are you? How are you doing? Sorry, I've got hair stuck to my face right now. Just trying to stop the tickling. Yeah, how are you doing? I hope you're doing all right. I have lots to share. I took last week off, just so you know, because I went away. I went and saw a friend who I hadn't seen in a few months, and yeah, I spent the weekend there, and there just wasn't any opportunity to do any filming, any substantial filming or editing and such that this operation here needs. Yeah, so I just wanted to welcome you into my space and just let you know that, because I realize like sometimes I don't talk about this because to me it's just a given, but I think whenever we get something for free, we always wonder what's the catch. And for me, I produce this series because I'm interested in building community and in chatting with you all, and sharing my knit projects with you and my spin projects with you, and just so we can all learn together. I've learned so much from my viewers just in the comments and the separate conversations that we might have offline. So it's been really, really great. I just love it. That is why I do this. It is not for any other reason. I'm not trying to shill anything. I'm not selling yarn, or I have patterns, but I don't care whether you buy them or not. It's not making or breaking me. I make a nice living, and so I'm not doing this for anything other than just for my own fun and sharing with you. Oh, so yeah, I'm drinking water. Ice water, actually. It's really very cold, this mug. Oh, and if you're wondering, this ceramic mug I got in a hygge box from a homespun house a couple years back. I treated myself. I'm a winter birthday baby, so I bought one for around my birthday in February. Yeah, so hi. I hope you're doing well. It feels weird to not say anything about Ukraine and what's happening there, all the atrocities. It's so devastating and hard to read about and watch. And my heart goes out to anyone who has connections or with people there, or operations that are trying to, supply humanitarian aid or anything like that. So I feel terrible about it. There are quite a few. I know I'm a little late to saying something about it. I meant to say something last time in my last episode, but I was so consumed with some of the other things going on that I didn't bring it up. But I was going to say that there are lots of organizations that if you want to get involved and help, I'm sure you can find those without my help. So I have done some things. I am attending a rally next week and stuff like that, because it's got to stop. It is really awful. It is a genocide and frightening, and yeah. I'm gonna stop here, and instead of talking about knits, I'm gonna do what I usually do and insert a clip of future me telling you about a whiskey. I'm running out of scotch to try. This is going to be an Irish whiskey. I was looking earlier today trying to figure out which one I was going to taste. And yeah, so this will be an Irish whiskey. I think I have 1 or 2 more Scotch whiskeys here. I, of course, could always buy more. And I may. But anyway, This is an Irish whiskey. I'm going to let you watch that clip now. If you're new here, I usually do a whiskey or gin chat where I do a tasting and tell you what I'm tasting and give you some lowdown on production and the company, a little bit about the company and all of that stuff. So, yeah, they're usually around about 10 minutes. Sometimes if I'm exploring a new region, it'll get longer. This is not a new region. And I don't think there's a lot to say about this particular whiskey because yeah. Anyway, go watch. If you don't want to watch, I'll tell you where to skip to right now. You can get straight to the wool where I will talk about my finished object. Hi, gonna do a little whiskey chat with you. I found a good story. I pulled this whiskey thinking, this looks interesting. It has a really interesting looking bottle. It's called the Sexton. It's an Irish whiskey. So I'm going to put a picture on screen of it right here. It is a little mysterious. However, internet sleuths have been able to figure out some things about it. You'll notice in the picture that I put on, or maybe you notice there's a skeleton, and that is on a stamp that's on top of the bottle, like on the cap. And then I think it's also incorporated elsewhere on the bottle design. So we know that it is, so what I was able to find out from the company itself, this whiskey is blended by one of the, by a rarity, a woman who is the, what do they call them? Something master? The master blenders, yes. So her name is Alex Thomas, and so that's cool. It is triple distilled. It is made out of 100% Irish malted barley, and they age it in Oloroso sherry casks from Spain, which we see frequently in some of the Scottish whiskies as well. It does not admit where it's produced, but sleuthing helped me figure out that it is produced by Bushmills. So it's like an offshoot of production that happens in Bushmills in Northern Ireland in County Antrim. Because it says it's produced in County Antrim, but Bushmills is the only distillery in that county, so it must be Bushmills. So Forbes magazine actually says this about it. It says the whiskey is bottled in an upscale looking black hexagonal bottle. The label sports an upper section of a skeleton wearing a top hat, as well as a coach pulled by a skeleton horse and skeleton coachman. The references to skeletons are associated with the Sexton name. A sexton is an officer of the church congregation or synagogue charged with the maintenance of its building and or surrounding graveyard. In addition, sextons were often charged with digging of graves. There's no explanation from the producer of why there's this macabre branding. They must have just thought it would be, I don't know, mysterious, add to the mystique of it. However, it is likely produced in Bushmills Distillery in Northern Ireland. Bushmills is the only distillery in County Antrim, which was where this one says it's made. Moreover, there's a reference to it being triple distilled 100% malt whiskey, which is usually a dead giveaway for Bushmills produced malt. Just like references about double distilled would usually indicate that it's a Cooley Irish whiskey. And it's fairly new. It doesn't say how long it's been produced, but it has been, it is distributed in the U.S. by Proximo Spirits, they're a division of Cuervo, and Cuervo is also the parent company of Bushmills. So yeah, they go on to say that the tasted side by side, Bushmills sherry cask and the Sexton appear to be very similar. The sherry influence seems to be more pronounced in the Sexton, and the whiskey seems more mature. There's common DNA, however, that is unmistakable. And the writer says, if I had to hazard a guess, I suspect the Sexton was a way for Proximo to move some overstocks of whiskey originally destined for Bushmills sherry casks. So sherry casks though, so it's really a bargain because a bottle of Sexton will run you about $25 to $30, where Bushmills is $80 to $100. So it's really, yeah. This is a very inexpensive bottle. I was very surprised how inexpensive it was. Just so you know, mine came from this company Flavier, which is a, sorry, just looking. Yeah, I want to make sure I want to see what you're seeing. So yeah, this company Flavier, this is day 16. So I bought a countdown calendar for the holiday season beginning like days, I think it was 1 through 24 or 25. So yeah, this is where I got this from, and I have a handful. I have about 10 little bottles left. My sons and I have been enjoying the bottle there. Is that particular calendar, it was called Whiskies of the Galaxy, and it's been a mixture of bourbons and whiskeys and stuff from all over the world. So I've already tasted on camera with you all of the scotches except one, and the rest are all from other places. So yeah, so I've poured myself a wee dram. You can see it's a really nice amber golden color. Looks great against the bland wall behind me. Oh my goodness. Yeah, so I'm gonna blind taste, and then the Forbes has a little bit of what they say it should taste like. The website has a little bit, but Flavier goes into detail and probably has a flavor wheel, which I'll show you. If in fact I haven't looked at it, so I'll share all of that with you if I can. So anyway, let's see. Oh, really, really fruity. And there's something bright. There's like a bright fruit. I would say dates. Maybe, oh my goodness, I wish I knew what that smell was. It's almost like melon, but or peach. It's a bright fruit flavor, like a lighter fruit. Also, nuts in the background. Like there's sort of a subtleness of walnuts, I would say, in the background. Oh, interesting. There's something in the finish that is like cake or something, cookies. I feel like I say that all the time. Yeah, I can't put my finger on it. It's definitely different. I've never tried Bushmills, to be honest. Like maybe I tried it long ago, but nothing recently. I think it might be my sister's favorite. I can't remember. Maybe she likes Jameson's better. I don't remember. But this has like a very, very fruity taste up front. I don't really taste the nuts as much as I smell them. And there's a flavor I can't put my finger on, but knowing that it's sherry, the fruit isn't surprising. Usually you get a lot of fruit flavors with sherry casks. So sherry casks are what they are aged in. So the whiskey's distilled 3 times and then it's poured into casks and it'll sit for years. I have no idea how many years this sat. I don't know what Ireland's laws are about it. I know in Scotland they have laws about the timing. Before you can call it whiskey, it has to sit for a certain amount of time. Like I think it's somewhere between 6 and 7 years. I think it's like a certain number of months. So yeah, let's see what the experts have to say. Let's see what Forbes says first, since I'm on that webpage. He says, the color is dark gold on the nose, pronounced stone fruit. So stone fruits would be like peaches and plums. And so he says stone fruit aromas, peach, apricot, a typical characteristic of Bushmills. Okay, I didn't know that. In addition, there are notes of candied citrus zest, bit of waxiness, typical of sherry matured whiskeys. On the palate, it's very smooth with a pronounced palate weight and oily viscosity typical of sherried whiskeys. There's pronounced peach and apricot note with sweet honey notes and some citrus peel. The dried fruit notes of raisin and fig typically associated with sherry. And the finish is sherry, sweet dried fruit, and a hint of bitterness. I tasted that bitterness. He says it's a bit young, but smooth and flavorful and exceedingly well priced. The thing with whiskey is that once it's bottled, its aging process is over. So you hanging onto a bottle, a 10-year a Scotch whiskey that's 10 years, it remains 10 years. Even if you drink it 10 years from whenever, or 20 years from when you bought it, or 5 years from when you bought it, it's still a 10-year. It's not like wine. Wine can continue to age in the bottle. Okay, the website themselves, the Sexton.com website says, it's dried fruit, nuts, honeycomb. Not much there. And Flavier says, oh my gosh, I can't believe how inexpensive this is. All right, there is a beautiful flavor wheel, flavor spiral, which I'm going to share with you. It says spicy, oak, dried fruit, sweet, woody and nutty, and honeycomb fruit at the end. So that's what they show on the flavor wheel. And in terms of their write-up, do they have a write-up? Not really. Dried fruit aromas, smooth notes with honey and honeycomb, or honeycomb and nuts. Finish is sweet and woody. There's really not a lot there. Doesn't say how long it was aged. Well then, there you go. If you're curious, apparently this is like a young and less expensive Bushmills. So if you don't want to pay fork over the $100 for Bushmills, try $25 for this instead. I hope you get to enjoy a glass of your drink of choice, your beverage of choice, sometime soon. And I will see you again soon. I wanted to share with you this finished object. I'm going to be gifting it before I will be filming a full episode again. So yeah, I finished the Vertices Unite Baby Blanket. Really super happy with the way it looks. This one is for a girl. And yeah, nothing much to say about it that I haven't already said. I just really, really love knitting this pattern. It's a great way to use up 5 DK weight single skeins that maybe kind of coordinate together. I cruised along following the pattern, not making any mistakes. I was pretty happy with it until I got to section 7, which is right here. You can see my line here is a little wonky. I didn't do the decreases I was supposed to the first 20 rows or so that kind of screwed it up. But otherwise, and I think it's totally forgiving, this pattern, of these mistakes. Yeah, really great. You work in a module fashion where you start in the center, you do the center parallelogram, and then you slowly build out some of these triangle shapes and other squares and work your way around, and then you do a I-cord border all the way around it. Yeah, I'll put the yarn information down in the description box if you're curious. I did use a textured yarn, a DK weight baby suri from Qing Fibre here and over there and over there. But other than that, I think that's all I have to say about it. Love this pattern. We'll probably make at least a dozen more over the years because it's just so fun and such an enjoyable process. And I haven't given one to anyone who hasn't absolutely loved it. Love the idea of an asymmetrical blanket that their babies can use. So you saw a clip of the Vertices Unite Baby Blanket that I made for my boss who's expecting a baby girl. And I don't think she watches this, so I should be safe. I think she's too busy to watch this. This is not her first baby. She has children, young children. Yeah, so I finished that. That was really fun, and just in the nick of time because all of a sudden I had a deadline. And also my second finished object is this sweater. This is the Perennial sweater, and it is from this book right here. Can you see it? Worsted. I don't know if I can get it down without it yet. Oop, yep, made a little mess, but not too bad. So this book right here, Worsted, which is by Aimee, I think that's pronounced Gille. But she is the woman behind Lobby and Aimee yarn, and she curated a knitwear collection of patterns that are all using her yarn, Corrie Worsted. This one right here. And so this is Corriedale. I think it's a blend. I think it has Gotland in it too. Yes, 75% Corriedale, 25% Gotland. And this is the color, I use the color Kitsune. I saw another podcaster, I don't remember who, but they're making a sweater out of this yarn too. And I was very excited to see what they're going to make. It's not this sweater, it's something else. I think it might be a new design. I don't remember who it was. But maybe if you know who I'm talking about, you can put it down in the comments so we can all know, because I am not going to be able to figure that out. So I finished it. It's okay. I've been actually wearing it a lot just because I've been trying to, it's a different spec. It's short. I wish I made it longer. I wish I made it bigger. I should have just made a bigger size. And then I should have also made it longer. I think it looks fine. It's great for work because I always think of, maybe this isn't true for your job, but in my work, I like to look a little more tailored and a little more pulled together. But I also want to be comfortable, and knits for me are very comfortable because my top shape is, I have a very big bust and a small back. So it's hard to find clothes that fit me well. Like if they're woven, large shirts don't gape, but they don't fit right and up here. And then smaller shirts the buttons will gape, but they fit in my shoulders. It's just hard. It's hard. I should sew shirts myself, but I end up just not wearing them. My whole life, I really have not worn button-down shirts very often, unless I'm wearing them over a t-shirt or something like that in a really casual sort of like rural farmish sort of look. I like roll up the sleeves on a flannel and you leave the buttons open kind of thing. That's the way I wear button-downs pretty much, because it's just too much of a hassle to always be, fiddling with buttons right here. Anyway, I love knits. This is why, because I can make, I can make them fit in my shoulders and then give myself the extra width that I need in the body. I was really excited about this pattern when I first saw it, and I really struggled with knitting it. I didn't struggle with the cables. The cables are beautiful. I love the way they look. It's my favorite part. What I struggled with was the construction of it. So it's a bottom-up knit. In the pattern, I'll put a picture in here, but the pattern has a raised front hem. I didn't do that. I knit the body in the round it's knit in pieces. So bottom up, knit in pieces. But I knit the body in the round and just, followed the instructions up to the armhole, and then I knit flat for the top. The problems for me with the pattern started with the fact that I didn't get gauge, and I didn't get gauge by a long shot. I wasn't even close to getting gauge. I thought the stitch count per inch was really, really high. And so I ended up, probably looking at the pattern, I should have made a size 3 or 4. I made a size 1. And you're going to say, oh, that's why it's too small. Well, but when I gauge swatched and then looked at my inches and did the translation that I normally do, that I know works, it should have worked. I don't know why it didn't. I also do wish I knit longer, and I think that if you're accustomed to knitting top down and then you suddenly do bottom up, sometimes it could be a little tricky to estimate. Like, we don't really know what's going to happen between the armhole and the neck and the shoulder and neck in terms of inches other than looking at the spec. And I did look at the spec. I followed the spec for the sleeve, and I followed the spec for my size, for what should be my size for the sleeve and for this part. But yeah, I don't know. It just ended up, this part fits fine. I think all of the top fits fine. I just wish it was longer, and I wish it was a little wider. I just think it would look like, if it's going to be cropped, it should have been wider. It should just be more boxy to me. I don't want a fitted crop top. That's great for maybe younger women, but not for me. I may end up giving this away. I have enjoyed wearing it. The yarn is really, really nice. I think it's a great look. I think it would be great if I would style it the way crop tops or crop sweaters are being styled, which like over a dress or with high-waisted pants. But those things, high-waisted pants and dresses, are things that I wear in the summer, not in the winter. Maybe I need an attitude check on that. I don't know. My high-waisted pants are not heavy enough to wear in winter. So I end up wearing like corduroys and heavy jeans in the winter. Otherwise, I'd be cold. I walk a lot outside when I have to go to work. And yeah, I don't know. It's just, I need comfortable shoes and I need to stay warm. So, yeah, I don't know. Complaining. I know some of you are going to be like, it looks great. It's so pretty. La la la. Yeah, it is. I'm coming around to it. I like it. I like it more than I did when I first got it off the needles. So when I first got it off the needles, I was like, ugh, I'm giving this away. Then I thought I need to just sit with it a little while. But just for reference, I mean, this is a whip that Martha's wearing. Martha's my size and height, and the waistline is here. So this sweater that I'm wearing goes to like here. So it's a good 3 inches shorter. And I could have sworn I made it longer. I don't know. I'll put it, you know what, in the description, if I remember, I'll put the measurements of it, because I think it hits the spec. I just think I don't like the spec. All right, I'm going to stop complaining about this sweater. Also, so if you are interested in knitting it, maybe you're like, this is exactly what I'm looking for. Okay, crazy lady, you don't like the spec. That's your problem. I love it. And you want to go ahead and knit it. What I would say is so I wrote a lot of notes about the problems that I had with the pattern. Like how to fix them or how I fix them. And there is also errata on the La Bien Aimée's website. So you can go to her website and there's a drop down, I think, that says worsted errata. Read that, because there are problems. There were some issues with that particular pattern in the book. And yeah, I think that'll be helpful for you. Yeah. I think I might knit this again, but in a fingering weight, because I think I could hit gauge in a fingering weight with a smaller needle and stuff. If I could hit her gauge, I'd like to try it again. And I think a fingering weight might be really nice in this pattern. So anyway, yeah, that is the Perennial by Norah Gaughan, and yeah. Okay, I'm going to move on. Oh, I didn't really talk about the yarn and the baby blanket, but I'll put it in the description box. I'm sorry. I did want to just show you that this is all I have left, so I don't have much left. It really is full skeins with a couple of the colors. So, yeah, that is that. Let's move on to whips. Let's talk about what Martha's wearing. Are you not surprised? I am so surprised that I was able to be so productive. I really didn't think I was going to get this far on this. I wasn't really working on this all that much. I finished the baby blanket, I finished this, and then I was really working more on the daily pullover by Paula Pereira from Pearl Soho. And I would just kind of go back and forth between that and this pattern and that pattern. And when I got through the color work, suddenly I had two projects where it was just knitting in the round in this very mindless stockinette stitch, which is, I love that. I love to have at least one thing that's doing that. So I just didn't think I would make that much progress on this because I was working on that and I could see I was closer to finishing that one than I was this one. But then I had problems with the neckline on that, which I'll get into in a minute. And I had to put it aside when I was visiting my friend because I needed to concentrate and figure out what was wrong. And I knit this instead. And I realized when I got home from his place that I only had a little bit left to do before I could do the rib. So so I just went ahead and pushed myself to finish that. And I started a sleeve. So this is a unique colorwork sweater. I didn't even tell you what it is. I just assume you're here from this is continuation for you. This is a sweater based on the Don't Look Up sweater from the movie Don't Look Up. In one of the early scenes in the film, Jennifer Lawrence is wearing a sweater that has this color work. We don't know whether it was from Target or from a designer. There was a designer who made like a $600 version of the sweater, and then Target did a knockoff of the sweater, I think with the designer's permission, so to speak, made like a less expensive version of the sweater and sold it. But I'll have put pictures in so you could see that the color scheme is pretty similar to what you're seeing here. I think the brown that they used was maybe a little redder, more like the one I'm wearing than this one. And when I saw it, I knew I wanted to make it. I had just finished spinning this pink yarn. So this is a completely hand spun knit. And I was in the process I had purchased some of this brown Polwarth yarn, or Polwarth fiber that I was spinning. So jumping ahead a little bit to show you some spinning that I did. And I had purchased about 10 ounces, I think, and so I spun that. I was spinning the brown, and I had already spun the pink, and this gray I had already spun a while ago, a few months ago. And I saw that pattern, and people were reverse engineering it. So there were a few people who reverse engineered it, and a couple people put it out on Ravelry as free patterns. And I used a woman, I don't remember her full first name, but her username is KnittedbyNy. Her first name starts with NY, and then it's something longer. And she's watched, so hi. Look at my sweater. I love it so much. I love this sweater so much. So I've been using her colorwork pattern. The colorwork is such that it continues past where you break for the sleeve, which I really, really loved. I've seen designs like this in the past, and I really wanted to try it. I really wanted to do one, so I was really excited. I have another one in my queue actually that I'm gonna do that does the same. I love it. It's unblocked right now, so if it looks a little weird and not, you're not really clearly seeing the pattern up here, that's why it's very, very rumply, because I did some increases along in that section. So same thing with the sleeves. So this is why you're seeing I knit this sort of medallion shape on the sleeve, and then did the plain brown, and then I stopped and came over here, and I'll start this sleeve. I'll get this sleeve to that same point. Actually, what happens on the sleeves is that you knit to about an inch or so below the elbow, and then you knit color work, to the cuff, and then you do like a rib cuff. So I did this sort of broken way. Oh my gosh, I didn't bring my knitting bag over here. I'm gonna have to go get it. I feel very disjointed right now, so I hope, I mean, I think I'm coming across kind of disjointed. I hope I'm not. I hope I'm wrong about that. Yeah, so anyway, the pink is actually a pink that goes like this. So it had a heavy bunch of pink out here, and then it went to green, and then it goes to pink, and then back to green. So I so far have just used the pink, and I didn't know when. I was cool with I was totally fine with the green popping in. I thought the green would pop in somewhere along here, but it didn't. It didn't. So I think I'll end up with probably with a little bit of green in the sleeves. But because I am so close to the green, I didn't want to do this one sleeve all the way down and do the color work part that's down here. And then have one sleeve be pink and one be green. So I think this will be better. So I will do the little cross hatches here on this sleeve in pink, and then I'll just keep going, and I'll do the color work, and we'll just see what happens. So I'm hoping they'll be kind of even. I don't care if they're, matchy-matchy necessarily. They just need to go together. So we'll see what happens. There is a little bit of a transition that's like sort of peachy in there before the green, and then, yeah, the green is pretty significant section though. So I'm hoping once I start with the green, it'll continue with the green on the other side. But if not, I do have the option of like pulling out the center green and going to this pink section here. Yeah, so that is why I did this type of construction where I just knit a little bit of the sleeve and then stopped. And then I'm doing this other sleeve here. So yeah, I think all of this will lay better too. The fabric is really, really nice. I can't wait to block it and see what happens. But this 100% Polwarth is amazing. The gray, the black gray, I am running low. Here it is. This is all I have left. I'm not sure if I'm going to make it, because basically what you do in the sleeve is you knit in the reverse. So you end up knitting like a slightly more abbreviated section that goes from like here to here. So yeah, I don't know. Winging a prayer. Definitely playing yarn chicken, I think. But again, we'll see what happens. And I do have, I went through my stash, and I do have I have 50 grams of gray yarn, gray fiber, and I have about 4 ounces or maybe 6 ounces of black, solid black. And this isn't really black. This is really a gray with some blue overtones. I'll figure out something. I think the 50 grams will probably be fine. It'll just be a really small skein. If I need it. Hopefully I won't need it. Hopefully I won't go there. We'll see. I'm not using a ton of the brown either. I had bought another, after the initial like 10 ounces, I think I bought another 6 ounces, and I thought I would spin it all and use it all in this sweater. But this is my third of my first 3 skeins. I spun about 2 and change, like 260, 270, 3 skeins that were 260 or 270 yards. And I've made a 4th skein that's about 200 yards. It's just less fiber. I think this is all I need. Because again, I'm just doing the sleeves. I'll be surprised if actually I need to crack into this one. This is why it's still in skein form. So yeah, I didn't even spend the last 4 ounces. It's sitting in my stash now, and I'll figure out something with it. It was kind of a boring spin, to be honest, like to spend that much, to spend a pound of fiber into a 3-ply, and this fiber is farm fiber, so there was a lot of veggie matter in it, a lot of second cuts in it too, which can make, I don't think you really can see it on this, but maybe after, it makes it look like it's pilled, like the yarn has got pills in it. So picking all of those out, it's just a really slow process. So I just tabled it. I'll get back to it at some point. Yeah, so that is the Don't Look Up sweater, designed by, I don't even know who, but reverse engineered by KnittedbyNy on Ravelry. And she has her charts, and I think there's some more instruction. I think she has instructions about the sweater pattern too that she used. I used, just for your reference, I used a pattern from this book that was by Maxier. I had knitted earlier this year, yesteryears. So I used this sweater, the stitch counts and stuff, just to make sure, because I hit the same gauge with this yarn as I did as the pattern this pattern called for, so it just made sense, and I liked the spec. So I used that to come up with this, just inserting the colorwork charts from KnittedbyNy. So anyway, that is one work in progress. My other work in progress is the daily pullover, as I had talked about before. Last night I finished the neckline. That was the part that was really stressing me out. So also it's black yarn, and my friend who I visited really likes to watch movies in the dark with no light on. So knitting black yarn in the dark, unless you're, when you're trying to do one by one, I do need to look a little bit. So I ended up making a mistake and just putting it down. But yeah, so I'm on the sleeves. I just started them. I think, yeah, there's one needle in there. I knit my sleeves, by the way. I know there's like a lot of different techniques for knitting sleeves. I will use a 16-inch needle until I can't. And then I switch to the Addi Flexi Flips, these, which operate like double points, except that you have your yarn, your tube is here on this part, and then you're knitting with the third needle. So yeah, that's my preferred method. Yeah, this pattern is it's my first V-neck that I've ever knit. I love wearing V-necks though, so I'm excited to get this off the needles and see how it fits. I also didn't get gauge with this. My gauge was bigger, but this was one time where I just decided, like, having knit this and have this be a little bit smaller than I wanted it, I just thought, fuck it. I'm gonna just knit it as if I got gauge, and if it comes out a little big, great. So yeah, it's a little bit big and baggy, I think. Hang on, I'll put it on Martha so you can see, and then I can talk about it. Oh, you know what? I'm not going to do that yet. I'll do that in a little bit, because I wanted to show you a couple things. Since it's black, I need to get it nice and close to the camera. But yeah, I pretty much followed the pattern. I think I made it a tad longer. Oh, and I made it longer. Yes, I made it about 2 inches longer than the pattern called for. And I skipped she had short rows that you did just before you did the ribbing, the bottom ribbing. And I didn't do that because I just thought, I think she did that because it was cropped, and if you're wearing a cropped sweater, you probably don't want your backside to show when you bend over or reach for something. So I just was like, I'm just gonna make it longer, and I think it'll be fine. I won't have that issue. So who knows? It'll show up in the way it looks on when it's done. Yeah. So the neckline, I'm really happy with the way it came out. I'm gonna try to show it to you. I have a bunch of stuff in front of me, and I don't want to knock them over, the microphone mainly. So there you go. So that is the way that front trim is supposed to look. And that little stitch marker is the place where I started the decreases. So that's why that's there. So that's how low that V is. To make this pattern, it is a top down, and so what you do is you knit the back, and then it's raglan too. So you knit the back, and you do a little bit of the sleeves, and then you slowly are increasing here, like each row you're getting, so that you're building this V-neck. And yeah, it's really great. I mean, Paula's techniques and her patterns are really flawless. Like they just come together very, very well. I have a lot of faith in her as a designer. And so I went ahead, I went along for the ride and just followed all of that. And when it came to knitting this neck trim, so I knit all the way down to the bottom. So when you reach the armholes, you knit in the round, because you pretty much reach where the V is supposed to be and the armholes at the same point. So I just you join the fronts together and then with the backs, and then you're just knitting in the round, which is really, really lovely and relaxing. And then, so I got to the rib, cast it off, and decided I was going to do the neck trim next, and then I would do the sleeves. So the neck trim really drove me crazy because I misinterpreted a knit abbreviation. It was, I think it's S2, no, I don't have it near me. I'll put it on screen. My interpretation of it was to slip, knit one, and then pass those two slipped stitches over. That is not what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to slip the two stitches together, knitwise, knit one, and then pass the two stitches over. I'm going to show you a little clip of what it looked like, the way that I did it initially. And I pretty much almost knit the entire neckband before I was like, this can't be right. It looks so bad. It doesn't look like the pattern. I don't like it. I don't think I can live with it. It's right, it's in a spot that will catch people's gaze. If they're looking at your front, they're going to notice, or at your face, they're going to notice something that's like pretty close to your face. So yeah, so I first tried to pull it out, just, those few stitches, and then go back and re-knit it. And it looked okay. The yarn just got kind of stretched out in there were holes where there shouldn't have been holes. And I was just like, okay, forget it. I'm just going to rip the whole thing back and do this again. So I did that. I'm really happy with it. I'm glad I did that. So I literally finished this neck trim last night. Now I'm on the sleeves. So I have 4 sleeves to knit over the next couple weeks, which, whatever, no problem. I don't mind knitting sleeves. They're pretty easy. Did I tell you I went running today? So I haven't run in 6 months, but it really makes me thirsty. I just get so thirsty. I haven't run in 6 months because I had 2 injuries that I think I'm over. I think I'm fine. I think I'm back. Minor injuries, nothing that stopped me from living my life, but it stopped me from running. Okay, what else do I have? Okay, update on my sock. I had maybe put in a couple rows. I didn't make the end of the knit along. The knit along ended at the end of March, so that was about a week ago. And yeah, I'm still in the increases. I'm in the increase part of this sock. This is the DRK Everyday Sock by Andrea Mowry that I am knitting out of some hand spun that I spun from fiber from Green Goat Ranch, and the colorway is called Fairy Godmother. She has a lot of Disney inspired colors. Lots of brights and some neutrals, really, really beautiful. She's been pumping out the gorgeous fibers. It's really hard. I'm on a low Baah Yarn, so it's been very hard to resist her stuff. But yeah, so I do have 1 sock done. This is this one. So that is my second sock. Just so you can see how the yarn knits up. It's a little bit of a texture, the yarn. It had some neps in it and some sparkle. So, but yeah, these will be fun when they're done. They'll be done soon. They were my travel knitting until and my meeting knitting until I joined that V-neck and the round, and then that was all she wrote. That was all I wanted to knit on, just because it was super easy. I could just whip through it as I was talking to people and stuff like that. So Super easy. I do have one new cast on, which you knew I would, right? I cast off two things. I've really been resisting casting on, but this is a pattern that I have fiddled with, and I think what I'm going to do, I understand it's very fast knit. I learned about this from Heather and Hops, the podcast. Heather and Hops. Kat is the woman behind that. So this is James Watts. Oh my goodness, what is the name of it? I don't have the pattern here. It is, I put the pattern over there on the bed. What is it called? Pure Mesh. Pure Mesh. So I saw Kat's and I was just like, what a great idea. I mean, she waxed poetic about it being a really great layering piece. And, well, I think, like, so she talks about it helping her moderate her body heat. For me, it's just like, to me, it's just like a really cool, hip layering piece. Like, I would never wear this. Like, if you can look at the hashtag on Instagram and see how people are wearing it and the way it's styled. Like, some people aren't wearing, some men are not wearing anything under it, or women are wearing just a tank top. I won't do that just because I don't feel, I feel that's for young people. I'm not comfortable with my wrinkly, lumpy skin. Over 50 crowd. But I love the idea of like mesh sleeves peeking out and maybe some mesh, like a mesh sort of look peeking out at the top, or maybe layering it over a long sleeve t-shirt or a short sleeve t-shirt. So I have been fiddling around with the pattern. I really, really wanted a black one, and I realized that I had some black lace cashmere merino yarn in my stash. I don't even think, this is very old. I don't even think you can get it anymore. I think when I bought it, it was a buyout, a closeout. I think is that Knitting Fever, KF? Yeah, Knitting Fever, lace weight. So I had this sitting in my stash, and I had bought some lace weight at some point, like some black lace weight. I think I was planning on doing something, but I only needed one skein, and then I ended up not using it, and I destashed some of it, but I held on to this. So I just took it out to play around to kind of get the pattern. So that's the way it'll look. I didn't want to knit on as big a gauge as the way the pattern was written. So I've been just sort of messing around with knitting a little bit tighter. So this is a little bit tighter than the way the pattern was written, and I really like it. What I ended up doing though to compensate was I knit the biggest size, and I think it's too big. So I think I'm going to rip out and try again. And the other thing that I realized as I was knitting this is I really want a rib bottom, and there have been a couple people who have made this project that went ahead and did a rib bottom after the fact, but I realized if I'm going to rip out, I may as well do a rib bottom now. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and do that. This is a bottom up in pieces sweater, but it's very, very simple. It's a drop shoulder, so you're just knitting kind of a rectangle with, I think he has a little shoulder shaping in there, and then a little bit of a neck shape. So the back I think is just straight though, so it's like super simple. I think it's literally a rectangle. Super simple knit. The other thing that I realized was, because I'm going to wear it as a layering piece, I could make it cropped. And so I think I'm going to do a pretty hefty rib. I'm going to kind of do it like a bralette, but with long sleeves. So it'll be like, I'm going to have it go to my natural waist. And then, so like a ribbing that'll come from maybe like a ½ inch or so below my waist up like 2 to 3 inches. And then from there, it'll just be mesh. And it does finish with a rib collar, a 1x1 rib collar. So I think that's what I'm going to try. And I think that will give me some stability too, to the pattern. I haven't worked on this in a couple weeks. I went ahead and cast it on like right after I did the baby blanket. I just started messing around, and this is probably like the third time I've knit a few inches, because I started with I started doing the gauge that was recommended, and then I changed my mind and tried a smaller needle, and then I was making it too small a size, and now I think I've made it too big a size. So yeah, I'm gonna just give it one more try. He gives you instructions. He has you put rib cuffs on too. He gives you instructions for how to do the rib cuff. You, of course, like in the pattern, you're knitting the rib and then you're doing the mesh. So I'm going to follow that part of his pattern for the bottom and the top and bottom, back and front. So yeah, so that is that'll be fun. Kat has said it knits in a few days. That hasn't been my experience. What I have noticed with this pattern is that you need to look at what you're doing. The yarn is just too thin and the needles are just too big and you're doing like yarn overs and knit two togethers or purl two togethers. So it's hard to maneuver the needle into the knit two togethers without looking. So, and since you're doing that like every other stitch, it's a lot. It's a lot of looking. So I don't think I'll get it done that quickly because it's something that I would consider a concentration pattern. So concentration patterns are usually a little slower for me, as if I have to look at what I'm doing. But I think it'll be fun. I really, actually, when I first saw it, my thought was, let me make this out of fingering weight, because then it will be thicker and the mesh will be tighter. And a couple people have swatched and done that. People have made them out of fingering weight. But, and I think I might do that. But when I saw that I had this lace, I was like, it's black. It's what I want. I don't actually think I have solid black fingering weight yarn. But I'm gonna see how this goes, and then I'll take it from there. And yeah, I think it could be a fun extra piece. And if I decide that it's a little too young for me and a little not my style, or just not my style, there are so many people I could gift it to. I have a friend who would absolutely love it, and she would rock the hell out of it. And I also have my nieces who would love it, I think. So it could also be a potential pattern that I make a few times and gift to people just for that reason. All right. I have a few other cast-ons planned, like ticking away in my head. I just want to say, you have too much yarn when you're looking at your Ravelry stash page or even at your stash, and you're just overwhelmed by choices. Like I am completely overwhelmed by choices with my own stash. It's terrible. So yeah, I have like 6 different directions I want to head in with some new cast-ons. But stay tuned. I will have at least one new cast-on probably next time, because I suspect these 2 sweaters are about to be finished very soon. Okay, brings us to spinning. I did a little bit of spinning. So I did spin this since the last time I saw you. So this is more brown for the Don't Look Up sweater. And I started another spinning project. I thought I would be done with it by this time, but I really didn't have a lot. I didn't carve out a lot of time to spin this past couple weeks. So I'm going to have you, I did film in progress project development clips that I'm going to have you watch now for this next spinning project, and then I'll bring you back and show you the yarn. I've been trying to figure out how to spin these mini fiber 1 ounce fiber things together in a way that would make like a cohesive, fun grouping. I think I might be doing this. So this would be 1 skein. This would be a 2nd skein, 3rd skein, 4th skein. I mean, these 2 are so similar, but I think there's enough color differentiation adding this. I mean, the only other thing I could possibly do would maybe swap those. Yeah, I really like this, and I really like this.
I'm not sure about this. I'm not sure about this. We'll see. See what happens. So this is the first combo that I'm going to spin. I am so excited about the way this looks. I think it looks so good. I love the deep turquoisey teal and then the green with like these moody sections of purple. And this one with its pops of red. So, yeah, so I'm not sure how, I think I'm doing a 3-ply. I'm going to get it on the spinning wheel and make a decision then, but I'm going to prep the fiber for a 3-ply. So I'm going to be dividing each of the 4 braids into 3 sections, and then actually I need to sort of think through how I'm going to spin it. Okay, yeah. I'm going to try to do a sort of a quasi-fractal spin with these. So what I'll do is divide each braid. So I have them just kind of looped around each other this way now. I'll divide each braid into 3. And then from there, one section I will do end to end, each one color after the other. Another section I'll do, I'll break it down into 2 or 4 parts, and then the last one will be either 4 or 8 parts. So it'll be 4 repeats. I think I'm going to do 4 and 8 because I really want a lot. I want the color to really blend and mix. I want more of that than I want sort of the striping impact that, I mean, I'll get some striping because that's what happens with anytime you're blending colors, unless you're doing a combo spin. I don't want to do a combo spin for this group. I might do a combo spin for one of the other 2 or 3 that I have. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. Okay. Each braid is now divided into 3 parts. I don't know if they're evenly divided by weight, however, but the next thing I'm going to do is just group them, 1 from each color, and make sure each of those groupings weighs exactly the same. So some sections, some plies will have, the plies will be uneven, but that's okay, especially with a hand-painted situation like this. You just kind of get it as close as you can without really stressing too much about like, oh my goodness, no, this ply is gonna have more yellow than that, because the colors are variable in the braid itself anyway. So yeah, I'll show you the final result. Okay, so here is each section that will be a bobbin. So this is 1 bobbin, 2 bobbin, and 3 bobbin. And then from here, first I'm going to do a test. I have a little dab of one of the fibers right here from me doing the dividing. So though each color is not equal in each of the bobbins, the total amount is pretty equal. It's 38 grams plus a fraction of something. So, and I do this, in case you're wondering, I do this so that the bobbins will end up being even. And when even in terms of its yardage, it is as exact as you can get by doing it by weight. Because of course there's going to be, your spinning tension will be slightly different with each bobbin, but it's fine. This more or less works out, and this way I don't end up with extra fiber or a significant amount of extra fiber on the bobbin or on any 1 bobbin or 2 bobbins when I'm done. So I end up using all the fiber, which is my goal for doing this weighing. So that's why I'm doing this weighing process. Yeah, so the next thing I'll do is I'll do a little sample spin, and then I'll see how thin it is. My goal is to get this to about a sport weight. And it's Polwarth silk, so silk usually ends up being a finer spin than my normal. So yeah, the last time I did a Polwarth silk blend, it was a lot more silk than this one, and I ended up doing a 4-ply in order to get to a fingering weight. So I don't want to get in that scenario. So I'm going to aim for a 3-ply sport weight, and or at worst a 3-ply fingering weight. Yeah, so I decided to do a 2-4-8 on the fractals, which means taking the section that was meant for, so here's like one bobbins, 4 colors, and this, I divided them in 2, so I'll spin in this order, and then I'll spin in this order divided by 4 and then spin in this order divided by 8. So that is the plan. We'll see what happens.
Okay, here it is. Here is my first skein. It's amazing how that that really vibrant blue really tones down when it's paired with those other colors. I suspected it would. There were also some white patches in it, which I thought were going to kind of dilute it a bit. But yeah, it's really, really beautiful. I'm glad I did a 3-ply. I came exactly out with a sport weight. Yeah, and I started my second skein. I'm in the middle. I'm about halfway through the second bobbin. I have one bobbin done, which I'll show you. It's more autumnal. So this is, you can kind of get a pretty good read on the colors here. These braids that I got from Dandelion and Daisies are very muted. There's that really poppy red and that teal that was put in this skein were pretty bright, but otherwise, like, the colors were sort of muted pastels and midtones. So yeah, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens with that. My other two spins ended up being this group right here. So this is the red I was talking about. And this group right here. This will also be very autumnal. And I honestly don't have any idea if these are going to go together in a project or if they're just, I'm just going to, use them separately. This one is probably the biggest outlier, I would say. Those other three look like they're going to be very autumnal looking. And this one's really sort of out there. But I have a feeling it's so soft. That Polwarth silk combo is amazing. It's just amazing. And the thing is with Polwarth and silk is that so if you're a newish or a newbie spinner, or maybe you've been a spinner where you've just always spun the same fiber for quite a while and you don't experiment much, Polwarth and silk is a really good way to spin thin because Polwarth is a long fiber breed and silk is a long fiber. So longer fibers are easier to spin thin. Just a little tip. So yeah, anyway, it's a fun spin. And for my spin after this, I always do this. I work like a couple projects ahead of myself. And there's just hope I won't run out of steam when I when I get there. My next spin, I took out my advents, the advents that didn't really go together with each other, like the fiber from day to day didn't necessarily match itself. And I grouped them by color. So this is how I know I have the gray, to try to come up with some a skein or two of fiber that will be semi-solids essentially, instead of being like very colorful, because you need solids to go with your colorful yarns. And I already have like an idea of what I want to make, which I'm going to show you now, because this is an acquisition. But it is not yarn. I ordered this book. It's the Shetland Trader 3 by Gudrun Johnson, over here. And because I'm sure you too have seen this sweater, the Bear sweater. It is chock full of some very pretty patterns. I actually think I'm going to make this one right here. I love it. I don't love that it's cropped, so I probably won't make it that cropped. But yeah, I think it's really, really pretty. And I was thinking like the semi-solid spin that I'm doing next might generate some really cool color combos of those semi-solids that I could put together in a sweater like this. So we'll see. There are just, it's really, these are really interesting, very beautiful patterns, really well written. This one has a ton of variations. There's actually 2 different color patterns that you can do across the top, which I don't know if you can see it there. There's different ways to do the color charts. And yeah, and all the color. I love the mixture of the lace down here and the color work up here across the chest. And then you can also do like bell sleeves, or you can do, or sorry, balloon sleeves, or you can do straight sleeves, you can do crew neck, you can do turtleneck. There's a lot of information in here. There's a couple hat patterns as well, a shawl pattern, a couple dress patterns. I'll show you one of the dress patterns. Right there, really cute. So that lace pattern again. And then I think there's another dress pattern that has color work here instead. But yeah, I just decided to get it. I love the way the Ver sweater looks. I just don't know if I'm going to get to it anytime soon. I think the other one is more appealing, especially if I can use up some single skeins, because it's basically a 4-color sweater where you're using about 400 yards fingering weight. I think all the sweaters are fingering weight. They're all basically made out of Jamieson's, like Shetland yarn. And the story actually too, I didn't know much about the story. The story is that Gudrun Johnston's mother, Patricia, had a business, a knitwear business, where she didn't knit, but she organized other folks to knit, or maybe it was machine knitting. I don't really remember. And that's her. So she had a business of selling Shetland sweaters to stores and to individuals and stuff like that. So it's pretty interesting. That's the family. Yeah. So pretty cool. I didn't know that. So that was interesting to learn about. I might have been butchering some of the details, so yeah. Take what I'm saying with a grain of salt. I think that's it for me today. I've been meaning to film me spinning. I just hadn't. I thought I was gonna spin more, so I just didn't get around to it. But next time, I'll try to remember to do that for next time. Yeah, I need to spin more. I don't think I'm spinning enough, but I also know that, like, gosh, spring is coming. The weather's getting warmer. I'm so excited for, the pool to open again and like to be able to like be outside more than I have been. Yeah, that's exciting. Exciting stuff on the horizon. I also, if you're new here, maybe it's just my same old viewers, which is awesome. Thank you for coming back. I close every episode with a little chat about allyship, and today I just want to talk about the importance of celebrating small victories for folks who've come from populations that have been oppressed. And that includes women. Like, women as a category have been oppressed worldwide. But in this case, I'm talking about Justice Jackson. I am so excited that this milestone was reached, that we now have a Black woman sitting on the Supreme Court. She won't actually hear any cases until the fall, as I understand it. But nevertheless, it's a wonderful victory. I am so excited and happy for us, for all of us, because justice for one group of people often implies justice for all, and this is a group of people that have been largely oppressed by others, I should say. So it's really nice to see this little victory. So yeah, thank you so much for spending some time with me. I really, really appreciate it, and I look forward to sharing more with you next time. Hopefully we'll have more flowers and beautiful spring blooms to share with you. I have a little bit this time around. Our forsythia just exploded, and yeah, I'm babbling now, so I'm just gonna end it. I'll see you next time. Bye.